taxation in the different countries of Europe, a comparative analysis. The Working Party for Land Administration did a very good job with a benchmark, and many states reply, giving very important information on the matter. I think that a large, if the real estate has a 6%, 7%, 18%, in some countries maybe more, of gross domestic product in an integrated way, this is something very positive. It's something that can create benefit for a nation. After how it is distributed, this richness is a different problem.
Okay, then thank you, Enrico. I have to make two announcements. The first one is an amendment in the list of speakers. The next speaker, Gavin Adlington, as one of our keynote speakers today, was shifted to after the coffee break as the first speaker. So Chrissy told me that we're still expecting the one or the other participant to arrive here. So it would be a good opportunity to have them also with you, Gavin. So directly after the coffee break, it's your turn. Instead, Chrissy will give a presentation on behalf of Mr. Yanis Alavanos. And so, Chrissy, you know better than me who he is.
Okay, thank you. One of the reasons that we shifted Gavin to the other session immediately is hoping that we will have more local audience. I keep my fingers crossed that we will have, because Gavin is going to be for the local audience to listen to his presentation. Now, as a member of the local organizing committee, I will try to read the presentation of Mr. Yanis Alavanos, who is the former president of the Technical Chamber of Greece and the current president of Institute of Education and Training members of Technical Chamber of Greece. It is his own point of view on illegal construction in Greece and how we were going to deal with that, how we are dealing with that during a maximum economic crisis. Historically and geographically, most of Greece's territory has been occupied with illegal construction. The phenomenon acquired permanent characteristics due to Balkan wars shortly after the expulsion of Greeks from Asia Minor. The need to house refugees started a trend that has been prevalent ever since. The evolution of this phenomenon can better be described graphically with a picture. This picture is that of the shadow puppet and fictional character of Greek and Turkish folklore. His name is Karagiosi, and his sack, sitting opposite to the Vizier's palace. On one hand, we have illegal shacks for the financially weaker and refugees, with the tolerance of the state that is not willing to spend on public housing. The tolerance in relation to other economic factors, such as the need for cheap labor, results in building slums a few hundred meters away from areas with good urban planning. On the other hand, we have the palace supporting illegal construction, more provocative than the shacks. Karangiosis will not complain about them, because he fears that if something has to be demolished, it would probably be his own shack. But we have to look at the long-term image of this phenomenon. Following the country's growth arbitrarily, constructions changed from shacks to palaces, that is, villas in Mykonos Island, Santorini Island, or Sonia area. From the first generation of arbitrary building created for refugees, we moved to the housing for those who lost this in the Civil War, and later to the sudden influx into big cities. In 1957, the Technical Chamber of Greece reported that out of a total of 43,000 new buildings, about 15,000 buildings, that is to say a rate of 36.4%, have been illegally constructed. Illegal construction moves to the third generation of secondary homes and the generation of luxurious illegal residences, the fourth generation, in a country that has become first in Europe, along with Spain, in the number of private residences. We have gone from the densely populated and the suburban illegal settlements all the way to illegal constructions across the country. From illegal restaurants to illegal semi-enclosed spaces in otherwise legal constructions, we created settlements without infrastructure, squares, public buildings, utilities, with inadequate living conditions, where each ameliorative intervention was possible to be done afterwards, would have a multiple cost compared to that of initial planning. Greece has faced this problem with regulations dictated from blatant populism. Legislation made on the name of fighting against illegal constructions is proven at the end to enhance its expansion. Any legalization of an earlier generation of illegal constructions was accompanied by measures that proved weak to repel the next more provocative generation. This is not a single Greek phenomenon. During the FIG Commission 3 workshop and WPLA workshop held in collaboration with the Technical Chamber of Greece under the auspices of the United Nations at Sulion in April 2007, the president of International Federation of Surveyors, those days Professor Stig Enemer, had indicated that 1 out of 3 urban dwellers around the world lives in illegally constructed dwellings under unsatisfactory housing conditions, mainly in slums. Illegal construction is a global phenomenon. Each country has its own historical, cultural, social, economic characteristics that define it in their own way. However, the extent, the form and variations of it in each country is directly proportional to the level of their development. Moreover, one of the best indicators to identify the level of a country's development is the qualitative and quantitative characteristics of the illegal construction. We can thus comprehend another image that is also blurry, the comparison between Munich and Athens. The respect towards the architectural heritage, the elegant buildings, the green and the design consistency of Munich urban web is opposed to the current image of Athens, a city built in the privileged area, which suffocates under the lawless construction, which is an eyesore. These two cities had a common beginning, as they were designed by the same architects and planners in the 1840s. The city of Athens was designed so that its road network had Acropolis as the benchmark. To a large extent, this road network was built in a way to assist the illegal construction. It is obvious that this workshop will examine and enhance the conclusions of the previous one, the majority of which introduce the problem and mainly suggest methodologies for its solution. The workshop held in 2007 had placed emphasis on the possibly good use of the illegal construction in view of many countries which are at a low level of development, provided there is a minimum of required safety, as structural wealth cannot be replaced easily within a plausible time interval. The International Congress of 2012 must place emphasis on the conclusions that have been drawn from illegal construction in Greece and how this situation has been dealt with in view of the barbaric economic crisis dealing with the population. The policies adopted in Greece were opposed to the 2007 workshops proposal and thus had dreadful consequences. At first level, according to similar past situations, the ministers appointed over the last years presented the measures taken by prior ministers, even if they belonged to the same government, as inadequate or useless, with both snatching and economic purposes. They presented the measures to be inadequate, useless and deliberate. Without being far from reality, the main purpose was to undermine any constitutional, legal and administrative measure taken in favor of rational planning that had been instituted. At second level, mainly for propaganda, the relevant laws were enriched with provisions that sounded effective, but they were either cancelled or never applied. As an example of the first case, the provision to create a green fund to deposit an amount of 90% of revenues derived from the fines imposed to legalize the illegal construction and to remedy the environmental issues was cancelled. For the second case, we can refer to provisions related with the minimum safety of illegal buildings. They were never applied. The foreseen handouts have not been issued. At third level, the same red lines were repeated as the limitation of illegal construction phenomenon. Over the last 40 years, during which the red lines have been set, the illegal construction grows unabashedly. In Greece, judiciary, scientific organizations, every honest citizen considers illegal building as unfortunate privilege of unregulated, uncontrolled, improper planning. Political leaderships did not share the same opinion from the beginning of the phenomenon, either because they saw it in it the solution for the problem of public housing without great cost for the state, or because out of the building arbitrariness, smallholders on mass cultivated as conscious tolerance of mutual support for large irregularities, or because those who commit the offense of building arbitrariness can easily be held hostages politically and economically. The foregoing reflects implicit goals which, by means of not easily identifiable avenues, are widely implemented. The explicit will has an opposite sign. The country's law, slowly and after strong demands, incorporated a number of positive environmental regulations. Over the 2.5 years of economic crisis, these regulations are cancelled, dragging down and provisions considered unassailable as those of the Greek constitution. At the same time, the abandoning of any participation process of citizens was accompanied by the emergence of a deity of spatial planning, that of an investor. The illegal construction is now seen not as a problem but as a main source of revenue. All are entitled for reasonable marketing. The fines are not paid on the grounds of exemplary citizens against respecting legality. The state collector does not punish the citizens violating legality. On the contrary, he winks, implying that for the next illegal construction, they will share the profits. 3 computer programs designed to synchronize, accelerate the project and guarantee the transparent functioning of services that control construction were never applied and their whereabouts are unknown. The possibility to implement police measures of illegal building seems to be repulsive. For full police measures throughout the country, the Technical Chamber of Greece has estimated a cost of 20 million euros for the first year, declining from year to year. According to the Minister of Finance statement in November 2012, the revenue collected from fines for illegal construction was 1 million euros on a daily basis. I'm not sure about that, but okay, this is what is written. That renders possible to announce any measures on the existing illegal construction and to prevent the creation of a next generation of it by spending 6% of annual revenues from fines. This not only does not happen, but it is not even discussed. The issue of illegal construction is a matter of culture, education, justice, and above all is political. The root causes of illegal building can be traced to government agencies, but also can be traced to citizens, their sensitivity and willingness to react. Today, in these crisis conditions, recorded phenomena reveal how vulnerable are organizations and individuals who had dominant role in reducing the phenomenon of illegal building. The highest court, the Council of the State, has begun putting water into his wine by virtue of accepting that the economic crisis, as specified by the government, is above the constitutional protection of the environment. Even the Technical Chamber of Greece, in the last 2 years, nearly withdrew from further elaboration and support of its expressed positions on the design, construction overruns. It assumed relieving the state from this process, the computerization of the collection system of fines, and did it very well. The state rewarded, in quotation marks, this cash operation of Technical Chamber of Greece by cutting 60% of its income, and so it is difficult to function as the authorized technical advisor of the state. For a very large number of engineers, the process of calculating the fines of illegal development is the only real job in the last 3 years. They are living a double drama, working in an area that is an absolute distortion of their profession, their inspirations to serve the community in light of scientific knowledge. They are working in an area they don't want to, and they cannot work where it is worth and necessary to do so. In the previous conference, we had distinguished two rules of universal validity. First, a stronger phenomenon of illegal construction is, the less developed an economy is. And second, effective measures for ensuring good environmental conditions, integration of spatial planning, and elimination of a next generation of arbitrary building can be efficiently taken when a country's economy is on the rise. The effects of the crisis in Greece should lead us to the formulation of a third rule. The economic crisis, if steps are not taken and pressures not imposed, could void conquests of decades, achievements of decades, in least time. When the phenomenon of illegal construction is treated only with the purpose of collecting money, it undermines development, alienates the citizen from the public space and common property, the environmental balance overturns permanently towards the worst, and prospects of tourism are extremely degraded. In Greece, 20% of GDP is associated with construction activity. Currently, everything associated with construction activities are suspended, including the illegal building as well. The already existing illegal buildings are legalized without any control. With the arrangements already legislated in law recently, we are as a country at least as vulnerable as in war times. The big problems will occur immediately after the termination and may be lengthy. So this is the opinion of the former Technical Chamber of Greece, and if you have any questions, I will be here to explain you his reasoning. It's not that I adopt this text as it is, each one of us has its own opinion, but I can understand his reasoning.
Well, thank you, Chrissy, for reading this out. I should say it at least sets the frame for the next session, where we're talking about legalization policies in various countries across the ECE region, and it will be very interesting to take this as a basis from Greece itself. I'm looking at my rapporteur, Pia, and I guess she has some remarks. No, very briefly.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Chrissy. Thank you to the two speakers, Michael and I'll try to do a very short wrap-up, because what we've heard here is two first speakers telling about the UNECE, the working of the WPLA and of the REM. And both are working under the Committee of Housing and Land Management, and we are working towards the same end. But we're working differently. We're working on either land administration or the real estate market, but those two issues are so interlinked, and that's what we're trying to sort out. How can we assist each other? And I think what the WPLA is focusing on is very much how we can secure land tenure and property rights to really be the cornerstone for society, to both be certain that all the citizens have the human rights they deserve, but also that we have a well and functioning land market so that we can have the economy to support all what we want to do. And I think that the publication that Michael told about the self-made cities is a very good example of also that we're focusing on both very well functioning systems, but also the self-made cities, the illegal areas, and how can we deal with that. And that definitely tells us that we need to look more holistic on what we do. And it also tells us that we have to look at issues very nationally, because there are so many different systems in our countries, different rules, different cultures, and we have to look at it differently. And I think what the REM is doing, having roundtable discussions all around the world, trying to focus on, based on the 10 principles of the policy framework, which will be our common principles, but then trying to find out in each country, how can we then go forward, what do we want to do to look also at the principles. And also I think the greening of real estate, looking at how can we, again, look at, there's a lot of different standards around, how can we find a common denominator for where we want to go, I think is a very good initiative. Looking through and listening a little bit to the paper here, the presentation from Greece on the illegal constructions, I think I can find that this is a very big problem. Solutions have been mainly to try to find out how can we also get the taxes out of the legal constructions, but we might have to look a little more again holistic on the problem and see how can we also support people in their daily lives and make certain that they're not infringing on environmental very areas that we do not want to have buildings in, etc., so that we look into our national planning, etc. also. So again, this more holistic land management view. I hope this wraps up.
Thank you very much, Pia. I was talking about a second announcement earlier. That is that before lunch break, we will have a photo. So no lunch without group photo. Chrissy will tell more. Yes. Looking at my watch, we're a little bit behind schedule, so Chrissy allowed me to give a coffee break until 5 minutes past 11, and she asked me to ask you to be here at 5 minutes past 11 to listen to our keynote speaker who is talking about the World Bank experience in the region.